Hello and welcome to Money Matters. Tonight we speak with Gigi Chow, daughter of business tycoon Cecil Chow and current vice chairman of Chuknang Holdings. Groomed by her father to presumably take over the family business at some point, Gigi talks about how technology is changing the playing field and how she's preparing for it.
In the past 20 years, technology has been us not just the physical outlook, and then
Gigi, you've expressed interest in cryptocurrency, blockchain, and the metaverse. This is pretty cutting-edge stuff for someone in a traditional industry. How do you plan to evolve the business to include some of these things?
I think, to be honest, we've come to a precipice of a new chapter of human civilization, to the point that we either drop off a cliff or we adapt and change and embrace these new technologies and embrace the transformation that digitalization is bringing us. So I think, I mentioned, there are a lot of legacy systems, legacy industries in Hong Kong, and we can't just, stop there. We have to keep moving forward. So I think the future of business will be that. We'll be simplifying and doing all the hard work on the back end and providing this service where people can do things and find proof of concepts with problems that are in society. And cryptocurrency solves some of those questions and problems. The metaverse is something that's going to be very immersive, and that's just going to come within the next 5-10 years. So how we prepare for these breakneck speed transformations will be a huge question. And what we need to do is to provide a very nutrient platform, very nutrient soil for talent to grow within Hong Kong.
You mentioned the metaverse. Now, as a property developer, is the metaverse a place that you see developing? I mean, people are buying land on the metaverse. You've got alien worlds on the metaverse. Is this something that you're looking at going into?
It's something that we have to monitor closely. If you ask me, I think the metaverse is really just a reflection of what we have in the physical world. And then you can take it that one notch higher because you can utilize technology. And on its own, it's just a platform. But if you leverage augmented reality, new technologies and hardware for virtual reality, then it becomes much more attractive and much more immersive as a vehicle for people to enjoy, to conduct their lives, new social interactions, new ways to work, new ways to interact generally with family, with friends. So it's certainly something that we don't want to ignore, but how we can invest in it meaningfully, I think that's the key question.
Right. Your dad ventured away from the family business and started his own company. Do you think that's something that you might do yourself, branch out into something different?
I'm still very much the vice chairman of Chuknang Holdings. I'm still very much looking after the family business, property development in Hong Kong and Greater China and Southeast Asia. So I do think that, with all the talk of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, metaverse, property is still one of the fundamentals of the human condition. We still need to live somewhere. We still need to eat things and drink water and breathe air. But beyond that, a lot of human experience has indeed shifted to the metaverse. And fintech and payments, you have cryptocurrencies that's coming into the spotlight. So all these are things that are being disrupted and bringing sort of new possibilities for people. I wouldn't say that I venture out to do my own business, but I share my predicament with a lot of sort of second or third generation Hong Kong people, whereby we have a family business, we have a very established legacy that we look after, but at the same time, as new technologies and new opportunities present themselves, how do we engage with them? So there are opportunities and risks. However, I think the hint is to start small somewhere, and as you sort of get your feet wet and understand what the industry is about, you will see gaps or sort of areas of future development where you can do proof of concepts and lots of areas to develop.
You've studied architecture and then law and even fintech, and each time it's expanded your way of thinking. And now you're studying coding. What are you discovering?
If you understand it, it's like learning a new language, right? If you know Chinese, then you have this vast universe of Chinese literature or publication or history or philosophy that you can engage with. And so that's a little bit of how I got into it. And it's really transformed how I think about the world, about technology, about how people should interact, how discoveries and inventions, how people should collaborate on innovation. And I think that was my coming from, was to, if I were to invest, for example, in a crypto project, then I would want to see the code and say, I could at least know what's going on.
Is this something that you want to expand into or invest in, you think?
I think definitely, given the right project, the right people, I think people are the key, and investment will be a very profitable enterprise.
So what would you be looking for?
Like I said, I think it should be the right combination of tech know-how, marketing ability, and very driven entrepreneurs that are behind the project. And if you have the right people that have integrity, that have social responsibility, so ticks all the right boxes for the kind of people that you're looking for in a good, honest project with good proof of concept, there's no problems raising funds. But the race is to find them first.
You made this great analogy about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and paper money. Could you tell me more about that?
In the Tang Dynasty, the Chinese empire invented paper money. And if you compare what we're doing now, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, to the state of the art that was paper money, it's actually nothing, because first they had to invent paper. So that's already a huge invention. And then you use it as a financial instrument to facilitate exchange, to facilitate finance. That is just mind-blowing. So on top of paper money, you had checks during the Industrial Revolution, right? So first you had to have a printing press. That also was a huge invention at the time, transformed all of society. And then from there, you actually have, a buzzword now, trustless transactions, right? That's essentially what a check is, right? You don't need to trust who this person is. You just have to know that it'll clear at the bank. So you have all these analogies, but it's all built on the thought transformation that was fintech 200 years ago.
Where do you see the family business going in the next 25 years?
I really think that family businesses, which have been the bedrock of society, for the past 200 years, we have to transform ourselves to embrace innovation, to allow younger people to take responsibility and find engagement. They have, their hand on the pulse of society. They know where the great ideas are coming from. So we need to engage all that to make sure that A, we are a socially responsible organization, and B, young people feel respected and enthused and their opinions heard when they are part of the organization. So I really do think that, all this is a work in progress. To be honest, nobody really knows where all this is going, but if we find good concepts, good people, we really have to hang on to those.
Great, thank you so much.
The Purchasing Managers Index, PMI for China's manufacturing industry, rebounded to 50.1 in November from 49.2 in October. A reading above 50 indicates expansion, while a reading below reflects contraction. Officials cite two main reasons for returning to expansion: tight epidemic controls and the government's efforts to bring about recovery. 15 of the 21 surveyed sectors of manufacturing showed PMI growth. China's non-manufacturing PMI, a measure of services, came in at 52.3 in November, down a single percentage point, 0.1, from October. China's tech crackdown has so far shown no signs of abating. Beijing has reportedly asked ride-hailing giant Didi Global to delist in the U.S. Bloomberg reports that regulators are concerned over the potential leaking of sensitive data. It suggested that Didi should either go private or take on a share float in Hong Kong after delisting in New York. Didi ran afoul of Chinese authorities when it pressed ahead with the listing in June. That's despite the regulator urging it to put the IPO on hold, while a cybersecurity review of its data practices was conducted.
When we come back, flats located in older properties have their own qualities and quirks. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Many expect that property sales and the leasing market will improve when the border reopens. Although the Omicron variant has cast an early opening into doubt, Sai Ying Pun is one of the areas favored by mainland university students and investors. This week, reporter Alice Kahn searched for a bargain flat in a street filled with character.
I wouldn't rent a newer flat. I don't like new buildings. I think they're generally horrible and kind of soulless. Sai Ying Pun. But it's still a really cool area. For this neighborhood, I guess you'd be looking at $25,000 a month for something kind of smallish. It's not a cheap neighborhood.
This resident also says he prefers a smaller unit.
I'm alone, and you can completely finish a small place. And when you're at home, I mean, you're somewhere. So being surrounded by thousands of empty square feet is kind of pointless.
We followed his lead and hunted for a smaller bargain flat nearby. This week we explored High Street, which is filled with heritage buildings such as the Sai Ying Pun Community Complex. It used to be the old mental hospital, built in 1892. Now it's a Grade 1 declared monument. Then we checked out a flat in a building across the street from this heritage building. The project was built by New World Development in 1993, offering 226 units. Sizes range from 311 to 477 square feet. Asking prices range from $7.4 to $10.68 million. The rents are between $19,200 and $25,700 per month. The flat we visited is this 365 square foot flat on a lower floor. The owner is asking $7.6 million. So we looked at the layout and interior.
This corridor here seems very narrow. Can we fit any shoe cabinets here?
I think a big cabinet can't be fit in here, but you can put some rack for putting shoes and in this section of the wall.
The corridor leads to a large square living area.
Is it original plan? You can see there's a beam over there.
No, it wasn't. It was a room here, and the room was about 40 square foot. Then the owner probably finds too small. Then he knocked down. As you can see, the beam was a wall, and then so it's a natural living room, and also bring more light from the window into the living room.
The original flat had 2 bedrooms and a small living area. The space is still on the smaller side, even after the owner knocked down a wall to combine a bedroom and the living room. The total internal area is less than 300 square feet.
Then how do you make use of the space?
You could simply put a TV on that wall there, And from this wall to that wall is about 14 feet distance. And then you can put a sofa here and the bookshelf at the back, then still have some space to walk around the sofa to get the books or something like that from the cabinet here.
The tiny dining room is on the other side.
Then can we fit a table for two?
It's definitely, you can. It's about 7 feet distance for this between this wall. I think you can put those extend dining table. It should fit 2 people easily. And if you have a guest, you can extend the table to fit more people.
One good feature of the small space are the windows on both sides of the flat.
Window for you. It's facing west, and it's the podium in front, so you can see the trees and also quite distant from the other buildings. So it's still a lot of light. The building didn't block the light.
Then we checked out the bedroom. This bedroom is 54 square feet, and the square shape makes it easier to fit furniture.
It's about 6 feet 4 long between this wall, which you can put the queen size bed probably in this area. But of course you can walk around the bed, so you have to climb over the bed from here, and then you still can put the little wardrobe here if it necessary, or a bedside table from here.
Then it doesn't have much storage room in this unit.
Well, you could just put the storage in the cabinet in the living room. I think that's the only space you could put the storage. Obviously, this bedroom can't put too much cabinet here.
The bedroom has a large window overlooking the podium.
Well, Jackie, this unit is not really that big, and then the owner is now asking for 7.6 million.
Yes, correct.
Right? And is the price reasonable?
Okay, according to the past transactions, a couple months ago, on the 15th floor, there was a transaction of 7.38 million. So the owner realized this transaction, but I spoke to him. He said he left the room for negotiations.
Why did he asking this price? Is it because he is more confident, or because of this kind of unit is more popular?
Okay, first he's confident in the property market, and secondly is that this kind of a property is the property in the market is because for property under 8 million you could get up to 90% of mortgage loan. So it attracts those people who has a limited budget for the down payment, or those young people homesteader, so they will prefer to buy something like this for their first home. Or some investor, since this building also attracts to expect for some buyers, they want to buy unit for leasing purpose. They will like this apartment.
Jackie says this one-bedroom unit can be rented out at below $20,000 a month. Amenities-wise, the project doesn't offer much. No swimming pool or gym.
What sort of people who attract living in this unit?
I would say for those people who's living in, who's working in Central, who likes the convenience of the locations of this building. Since there's a lot of Western-style restaurants near this building, and the MTR stations only about 5 minutes walk from this building, and also a lot of the public transportation close to here. So it's very convenient for those people who's working in Central, and also in the Hong Kong University, because from here it's about 15 minutes walk to the Hong Kong University.
In Sai Yin Pun, the price to buy in a 30-year-old building is about $20,000 per square foot, on average. The tiny flat we just looked at is going for around $20,821 per square foot.
For the unit price of it, I think it is still within the market range for such kind of middle-aged residential development in the area. I think for the housing price, this is quite attractive actually, because when we are talking about the price gap between the Sangpun area and the general Kowloon area, which is within 10%, just a few percent difference maybe. But locations of the Sangpun area, the distance between the Sangpun area and the Greater Central area, which is a lot closer when compared with it in Kowloon. So I think it will attract the home buyers from the Kowloon area to the Sangpun area. It is attractive to them.
There are not many restaurants and other amenities around the project, but there are some nearby. Also, it is close to some open space along the harbor, where residents can stroll or jog. A plan to protect African towns from the expanding desert by planting a giant 8,000-kilometer green wall of trees is failing due to climate change. Rising temperatures and low rainfall meant just 4% of the original goal was completed. So instead, focus has shifted to smaller projects, growing greenery on a local scale. Senegal's landscape needs protection from the encroaching desert, the Sahara. Hope is not lost. Ibrahima Fall tends to his orchard in the Louga region. His flourishing lime trees stand in stark contrast to the arid land surrounding the 83 homes of his village. Here, the trees and their roots prevent the dry sands from being whipped up into the air by strong winds. The orchard acts like a curtain that makes up part of the strip along with other trees that has stopped the desert. The orchard helps to support the community too. He can harvest 20 to 40 kilograms of limes a week in peak season. The fruit can be used by villagers as well as sold in markets to generate income that they spend to buy more sheep, goats, and chickens. The trees also enrich the soil, making it easier to grow other crops such as tomatoes and onions. All they need is a reliable source of fresh water. The Great Green Wall project began in earnest in 2007. And it's estimated that $43 billion would be needed to reach the original 2030 target. That's unlikely to happen amid the global economic downturn brought on by the pandemic. Meanwhile, global bodies have pledged $6.5 billion to help fund the more modest village-by-village fight against the desert.
That's the show. Thanks for watching. Next time on Money Matters, a conversation with the CEO of Cyberport about the opportunities for local tech companies in the Greater Bay Area. See you then. Good night.